I think I'm just missing the black.
On the plane, did you watch
Why
Isn't even the one?
Look at this stuffed Joker.
Hi, what you guys up? So? Dude, man, I want shot. Dude, I want where Brooks said. Oh, shotgun.
I mean, it's like 1,000 kilometers or 600 some miles from Salzburg. Where it's coming from. So now we'll it's just more the typical road because the other one will right from where we get to Florence and from Florence back to Verona and you'll see the rest.
I know, there's not
One of us is a gas bar, the whole center is
Yeah, I would know because I take
This one is a center too. The word center, do you know what that means? No, you don't. You couldn't possibly. No, that means self-carrying carriage, which means that either of these buses have frame. They have independent suspension, 600-700 after price. You can say it's really the period of the Roman Empire. And they went all over. They were the conquerors of the world. They went east, they went to conquer Greece, they conquered what is Asia Minor, which is Turkey today, as far as Iran and Iraq, and got as far as India actually. And going north was a little bit harder on it because there are warm-blooded people, it seemed. Temperature was much higher here than anywhere else, so they had to go over the mountains, and as you know, they used the elephants to get across the mountains. And then went through Germany, conquered all of what today is Germany, and built a wall which they call the linear wall, like in England, where we talk later about it, and the Hadrian Wall, which is dividing now, but still today, England from Scotland.
How much?
10 house. 10. $5.
Alright, thank you.
No?
I gotta talk to my friends with that. Honest smile.
Hi, Jeff.
Bye.
Hello.
Yeah. Alright. Hey, I'm a natural. I think I should do this for a living. Well, where are you supposed to go, Mom? Yeah, we're going to the cathedral. Teachings, we can walk right up to them when they won't do anything. Teachings. Alright, let's go in the cathedral.
They tried to remove, I think it tried to remove stuff out from one side, thinking it'll settle that way, and it was bad. And they tried to pump cement in underneath. And they almost caused a fall. There is a ramp. I went to the front row, yeah. Big block, big weights, and they put on one side of the tower.
Well,
Yeah, this one.
Which one?
we're wrong again. I'm gonna call this Jeff Camp. Ooh.
No, in there. You sell tickets? Next one, door.
Smile for the Jeff camera.
What do we want to do? You can pick whatever you want.
Well, I think there. I was taking a picture of the big dog thing.
How are you?
Thank you. This is the rebuilding, repairing the cathedral. Some pictures. And another picture. And here's another picture. Jesus on the cross. Jesus on the cross, his disciples underneath of him. This is the disciples, isn't it? Small church area, pews, fountain, I think. Oh, this thing's huge. And then that chandelier. We done? Where are we going? I've already been. Yeah, do you forget something? That's a big vehicle, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's a monster.
Oh, it is. Cool, so you could have big vehicles, they just have very, very high gas though. Ooh, scooter. Little car. I'm gonna get a BMW.
Look at your old one coming down the street. Good turn.
Yeah, I got him. I can't think who on this little bit thing.
What's it sound like?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's good. I'm trying to take off good.
Alright, good. Hello.
Nobody hear that?
Yeah. We're all waiting for the buses. Hey, Omar, how do you have to be here to get your license?
Driver's license.
Yeah. How about the driver's license? Those little bitty things or a little bitty scooter?
16.
Come on, man. Get a little Phil. Our buses aren't here yet. Walking down the streets of Italy.
Hey, welcome to Jeff Cam.
Here we have to the left-hand side, to your left-hand side, we have another building. But this belongs to another period in Florence, from the 16th century. This is the first fortress built in this period. By the Medici family. We will hear a lot about the family, the most important family that dominated Florence for more than 300 years. But this family was exiled several times from the city. The last exile was, let's say, at the beginning of the 16th century. And they came back and became the rulers of the city, and they remained until the 18th century. See, this fortress was for them as a protection against the Florentines, not only against the enemies outside of Florence, but also against their own enemies that were their own citizens of Florence. This is the Triumphal Arch. This arch was built by the Lorraine family, not by the Medici family, because the Medici, I told you, that ended up in the 18th century, and that was the time for another foreign family to come to Florence and continue the government after the Medici died out. And that family came from Austria, the Lorraine family from Austria. That Florence was the second capital of Italy. The first capital was Torino, Turin, to the north of Italy. And the third and last capital, Rome. Because
Two plus.
Michelangelo's David is not only Michelangelo, not only David, but also the prisoners. And one of the four Pietà, Michelangelo's sculpted, and Saint Mark. It's a very interesting visit. The museum will be open also in the afternoon. So if you have time, I would really recommend you not to miss it. We are heading for that large building, which is the Cathedral of Florence, the church dedicated to Saint Mary of the Flower. This will be our first stop.
Good shot of the cathedral.
Hey, yeah, you can look on it. Go just like California. It's falling apart. Yeah, I'm not lying. Those are falling apart. The cheap ones now, the expensive ones. Yeah, get those. I need to get a picture before I took the film out. I'd find them while I was getting it, I'd give it to him. Hey, look, it's your favorite store.
Whose?
Yours.
Not really.
Hey, Billy. I know. Every one of the garages are underneath people's houses. Man, look at all these scooters.
I know. Oh, these people are starting to wear helmets and like
Idiots.
medical.
Hell yeah. Oh.
Wow, that's
Hey guys, you know what they do with the cars after they wreck?
no, what you're gonna have to do, Jeff. You're gonna have to like bring that over to school sometime and let everybody watch it. You watch it in Bandon.
Bring certain parts of it.
Oh, that's big.
I'm gonna make an actual tape of just the cathedral.
Hey.
Look, you guys having fun yet?
Medieval religious landmark of the city. The city, when the city reached its apex in the, let's say, the 16th century, this was, of course, the core of the religious life. This is the baptistry, the oldest monument in town. It dates back to the 5th or 7th century AD, although the present time extension was reached in the 11th century. Was built over the remainings of a Roman villa. It's even possible to see the old mosaic floors of the villa. There are grills on this fabulous floor of this building. This is one of the buildings that I really recommend to see inside. It only opens at 12. But if you have time in the afternoon, I would really recommend you not to miss it, because there's a striking mosaico decoration on the inner vault of the dome. There are artistical and craftsman works of art that really worth a visit. These two-color marble geometrical decoration are typical, peculiar of the Romanesque Florentine style. When I will tell you about the bell tower or the cathedral, that's a completely different style, which is Gothic. This is a centralized plan building, an octagon perimeter, and the bronze gates are 3. 2 of them are considered really masterpieces of the Renaissance. They were both carried out by Lorenzo Ghiberti, one of the prominent figures of the Renaissance. I'd like to show you this one. That's my father. I have to tell you first of all that this is a replica. Won't you please come closer? As the original gate was damaged in 1966, it happened a terrible flood in the city. You know, Florence has a river crossing it. One of the reasons why the Romans decided to found the city of Florence right here was due to the presence of the Arno River, the 4th longest river in Italy. This is an important river, but meantime has been always dangerous for the city because of the floods. The one happened in 1966 was terrible. The area where the church of Santa Croce is, the water came 15 feet high. In this part of the city the water was not as high, but the strength of the stream here was really strong. And some of the panels were tired off and needed to be repaired. They are all on display at the present inside a very interesting museum that stands exactly in front of the rear side of the cathedral. It's a very interesting museum where also you can admire one of the Michelangelo's Pietà. I'm not referring to the same one we saw before, it's another one. We have got 36 museums actually. So, and it was decided eventually to substitute the original with a replica. This is a bronze alloy with a gold layer on top. Was made with adopting exactly the same process Lorenzo Ghiberti used to make the original, which is called the last wax process, representing stories from the Old Testament, creation of Adam and Eve, and expulsion from the earthly paradise, the labor of the ancestors and the killing of Abel, the drunkenness of Noah and the construction of the arch. 3 angels appear to Abraham and Isaac's sacrifice. Esau and Jacob and the firstborn right, the story of the patriarch Joseph, Moses on the Sinai Mount, the taking of Jericho, the battle against the Philistines and David beheading Goliath, and the meeting of Solomon with the Queen of Sheba. There are 24 statuettes that represent prophets and sibyls, and 24 medallions with protruding heads, which are, most of them are portraits of the helpers, the people who helped Lorenzo Ghiberti making the door. That one is the self-portrait of Lorenzo Ghiberti. Next is the portrait of Lorenzo Ghiberti's son, named Vittorio, 1865-1872. We will see the inside and then I will tell you about the outside, okay? Yes.
Okay, please follow him. Let's go this way.
It's big, isn't it?
Hey Jeff, what's going on?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Trying to record a big cathedral that I can't even fit into this camera screen.
I don't know where to even start.
The walls.
Jessica, where do you start? I mean,
Have fun here with a big camera?
Having a ball.
Where'd they sit? Sorry, I didn't see the fuse. Why not? Yeah. You're supposed to.
The construction commenced in 1296 and it took more than 140 years to accomplish. You should think about the tools and the implements they had available in the 14th century to build such a huge architecture. But please consider, you see these crisp edges perfectly made. Every single block of stone was handmade. So an architect had to consider all the allowance, and also he had to trust on the mastery of the laborers. But this is only an aspect of the difficulties of the construction. The real difficulties are on the building of the dome, which is there. We will see it after here. Let me tell you that normally the communities paid a lot of money and attention in the cathedrals, which because they were representatives of the pride of the city. Florentines mirrored themselves into this magnificent building. When this cathedral was completed and consecrated, it was the biggest church in the whole world in 1436. Now it's only the fourth biggest church after St. Peter, St. Paul in London and the Cathedral of Milan. The church inside was also used by the community for a political purpose. There were assemblies taking place inside this place when Florentines had to discuss all together about certain common matters that really affected the life of the city. Sometimes they were used to come, there were 3 churches conceived, envisaged for this particular purpose. One of them was this one. Therefore, it's easy to understand that here are not only explicit religious value, but there are also political value here. If you look on top of these Gothic pointed arches, you can see the red fleur-de-lis on the first arch left there. The political symbol are the 2 masterpieces on the left wall. They were both frescoed in the first half of the 15th century by the first-rate masters of the earliest which is still working since the 15th century. It has to be wound every 8-9 days. It goes anti-clockwise as 24 hours in one hand. They use this clock to sign the time of the Mass. They call it Italica Ora. Our number 1 corresponds to 6 p.m. So you have to calculate and you will see is signing the right hour. Alighieri, the father of the Italian language and the writer of the Divine Comedy. The Divine Comedy, you should know what it is. Hell, Purgatory, Paradise, very old text, dates to the early 14th century. It's interesting that you can see on the right side a representation of Florence as it looked like in 15th century, at the time when this painting was done. Florence inside the 3rd wall enclosure. Do you remember when we were going on the bus, we met that square with the triumphal arch? That's the limit of the 3rd wall enclosure. Florence was it still is a very small city, only 1/5 of Rome, even less than 500,000 inhabitants. But let me tell you, it's the city in the world with the greatest concentration of art. Italy houses the 60% of the entire world patrimony of art. Florence has the 25% of it. Where the sacred vessels and vestments are kept, and also is the place where the priest get dressed for the Mass. This was all decorated with these wooden panels inlaid in between 1445 and 1465. There were 3 craftsmen groups led by Giuliano da Sangallo. Is also interesting, is the first glazed terracotta plaque. No, that's 1470. You have to consider that this one was the first dome ever made. on these dimensions. The church was almost completed in 1418. The construction had reached the height of the tambour. The tambour is the wall, the octagon where the dome is resting. At that stage, the overseers of the works realized that there were no pattern to refer for its construction. There was a contest announced, a contest won by Filippo Brunelleschi. Filippo Brunelleschi is one of the four forerunners of the Renaissance, together with Masaccio, Leon Battista Alberti, and Donatello. These four names were able really to transform the art. You know, the vehement of the building will be resting until the moment when the last element can be sewn will be set. At that point, the weight of the architecture will be resting on the impulse, will not bear on the between the two shells, a hollow, and the two domes are resting on a marble ribs cage. The decoration that you see were carried out 1 century after the construction, between 1571 and 79, by Giorgio Vasari and Federico Zuccari. The theme is the final judgment, where are clearly visible reference to the that time. This was taking the party of the Counter-Reform. Is the real body of Jesus Christ in the host. On the lowermost tier is a very dramatic and scary representation of the hell with incarnated bodies. This was meant really to scare the faithful, to keep them apart from the scene. That was the real purpose why they were painting such a scary figures. To complete with the cathedral decorations, there are here 44 stained glass windows, all originals. Only one went lost after 6 centuries. There were 45 in the origin. They were all made by the prominent Florentine masters. The entrance is not from the inside, but is done by anything from the vendors here. They are all illegal. You can get charged a fine if the police catch. It's the only way we have to stop them. They are growing number every year. Therefore, the only way is to cut the requests and the demands.
Just say no.
I would like to ask your opinion. Who paid to build this, in your opinion? I told you 140 years to build it. You think paid for such an unbelievable undertaking? As you see, it must have been very expensive.
People.
Community of the church.
Community. At the very beginning was the community. But who is glad to pay taxes for something he will never see completed in his lifetime? You understand what I mean? 140 years to build it. If I start giving them money to build it, I won't see it with my eyes. So, commenced in 1296. After 30 years, there was an intermission. Intermission that lasted more than Byzance, because there was also the Black Death. 1348, the plague killed the population. Works were discovered in 1866. This time, the guild of the woodmaker
high school here 2 years for Christmas. They have about 300 kids playing.
Come on down.
Between 1501 and 1504. And it sums up Michelangelo's knowledge of the old Latin and Greek statuary. Please note how the weight of the body is distributed on the legs. The posture of this body is following a particular scheme. We call this scheme as canon, aesthetical canon. We call it a contrapposto. Church was built, this part of the city, this area stood outside the city. The city walls ran along where the street is. One of the city gates was that one, the beginning of that small street, the origin was the gate. That's good.
First one we saw.
This was commenced 1 year before the Duomo was commenced, namely 1295, and was consecrated in 1442. No, that's another story. I told you the cathedral is the church of the secular clergy hierarchy, the archbishop. This is a conventual church that referred to the Franciscan order.
Monastery, San Francisco Monastery.
There's a convent, a monastery attached. The Franciscans settled in this
Come on,
Yes, please come next, otherwise I have to talk loud. Michelangelo was born in 1475. He had a very long life. He died in 1564, so at the age 89 years. He had left Florence for good 30 years before his death. He died in Rome. His body was brought back to Florence by his nephew, the nephew who had inherited all Michelangelo's belongings, called Leonardo. Leonardo brought the body of Michelangelo back to Florence, hidden in a roll of fabrics, 12 days after Michelangelo's death. His body was on display in the sacristy of this church, which is a fabulous medieval room, and also commissioned the
the making of this monument from three young sculptors of the time. This is, you can see the three female figures are allegories. They represent the arts at which Michelangelo excelled. Sculpture right in the middle, painting on the left, architecture on the right. Just above the bust, you can see the representation of the Pietà, one of his favorite themes. Pietà identifies that particular moment in the history of the Passion where the dead body of Jesus is surrounded by the mourners. Mary Magdalene, sometimes the Virgin Mary, and Nicodemus. In Florence there are at least two Michelangelo's Pietà, Michelangelo sculpted on marble. This is the funeral monument, but Michelangelo's body is buried here, underneath these marble slabs, where Michelangelo is buried and also his relatives and parents are buried here. By the way, you will note around there are many slabs. There are about 170 marble slabs scattered on the floor.
Are they all plots where people are buried?
In the origin they were buried. The one where groups of families are still, the body are still there. For instance, this one where Michelangelo is. Some other are empty because of the flood. The pressure of the water blasted the... by the way, if you note, these gray limestone columns clearly show on the color shades the level of the water in 1966.
How did they get that painting out of there? Did they know what was going on? Did they save the
No,
paint?
there is no way to remove the...
But the painting,
Did they?
The paintings were damaged, but they were all restored. I will show you something in the vestry about the restoration. 1335, Donatello, the Cavalcanti family Annunciation, carved out of the grey limestone, the same one of the columns. I mentioned Donatello already as one of the four forerunners of the Renaissance. Donatello is one of the inventors of the Renaissance, is the expressionistic countenance of the Renaissance, who Gioacchino Rossini was. He was born in Pesaro, he died in Paris. His wife wanted his body to be buried here, in the Pantheon of Florence, Santa Croce. So his body was moved from Paris to this place. On the wall here you can see features that testimony the terrible condition of this painting. So you can appreciate the great work the Florentine restorers have done. Where you see the arms of Florentine on March 1964. Here is an important private chapel. It still bears the name of the family who had the patronage in the 14th century. Is the Rinuccini family chapel was all frescoed by Giovanni da Milano, one of the most important artists after the 1348 plague, because plague marked a kind of threshold, the art before and the art after. The railing is still the original 1371 wrought iron railing. The frescoes represent stories from the life of the Virgin Mary. There are also that beautiful other. Galileo has been a great mathematician, a great physicist. He developed the technology of the lens, making the lens. But above everything else, Galileo has been the scientist who transformed the foundations of the science. He first based the science on the experiment, on the value. There's a dark gray marble plate just underneath Galileo's bust. There's represented the planet Jupiter with the satellites spinning around. Galileo discovered the planet, the satellite.
Tried to shut me in the door. Just abusive people.
Coming out of it. That's problems there. I've not seen anything that I found on the fire department. Maybe it's a hot spring.
I've seen the family ambulances.
Yeah. So them.
I see the trash truck.
Yeah, let's check. Yeah.
She gave it to you. And yours? 89,000. Yeah, 80,000. Okay. And when you bought your gloves,
Three of them are 8th graders. Sarah shouldn't have to worry about it. She's a senior. You won't have to worry about it. Unless they don't sign a diploma. They had candy wrappers all over. I want you guys to get your stuff together, but it'd be nice if you could pick up something.
Well, yeah, it's kind of give you a feel interest on it.
whole seat was open and you wouldn't come up.
You know, I'm on the window.
That's because you're overweight.
What do you call this?
No, I just Tinderized it for you.
Danielson,
Can I take a picture
you've been quiet this trip. I never thought you arrived really almost punctual. When we got to the boats, like 5 minutes, right there. Oh, yeah, perfect. You organized everything perfect because you had no time.
No pictures inside. Well, you take video.
Don't get dizzy. Oh, it's his name, Dizzy. Smile.
We have been monopolizing the glass bottle of the world till the 1650s. You see, the agate to the pipe and push out glass and rolling it and using those pincers is going to shape what will be the bottom of this. Then it will take off the piece from the pipe and it will turn it upside down in a way that can shape the upper part, what we call the neck of the pipe. main problem that we have working with glass is that glass hardens very, very fast. So to keep it soft in a way that tool can shape it, we can go below 600 degrees. That's the minimum level. After that, we can engrave it, we can etch it, but a tool won't be able to shape it anymore. So the glass master has to keep on going back and forth the oven every 2.5 minutes. That's the average time of work. And then we need to rise the temperature up to 1,000 degrees. And yeah, you go right. Once that this is finished, we obviously need to cool it. Actually, we bake it in very lean oven, and we go in there at least 24 hours at 400 Celsius. In a way that all the minerals and the oxides that are melted into the glass have what we call the crystallizing time, which is actually the most important part of your work, because if you don't cool it down properly, the piece will crack, will shatter right away.
Algunos tienen ya. Sí, sí, está.
It has been for almost 5 centuries a very well kept secret by our council, the way how to color glass, because nobody knew how to color glass. They knew how to paint it or how to put enamel on top of glass, but not how to color it. And what you see up here are the basic color. Then out of them we get something as 700 different shades of color. So we get colors melting into the glass mineral oxides. If we melt, for instance, white silicate, that will be the result of it. Transparent, with no color at all. Then to get green, we use copper oxide. For blue, we use cobalt. For amethyst, we use manganese. And by the way, that was the very first color ever made, more or less 700 years ago. And if you will wander around the city, you will notice that all our lampposts are made out of this color. Yellow, copper oxide. Cadmium for yellow. And for last, red. The most popular and even the most expensive. Why? Because to get this color, we need to mix gold and selenium. I don't know if you have heard about selenium, probably not if you're not familiar with chemistry, but for sure you heard about gold. Everybody knows gold. So it turns out that any red piece, it's always more expensive than the same one in any other color. Actually, it's any better, but obviously gold costs more than copper. So consider always a bit of more money for any red piece you may like, okay? What you see here, and you see in the next rooms, it's mostly, you see, a replica of the old Venetian style that we call the Three Fires War. Why? Because it's done in 3 different steps, in 3 different processes. And it goes back and for the oven for 3 times. One for the glass itself, second for gold, there are 3 layers of 24 karat gold, and third for enamel. And in every passage we need to melt it at a different stage of temperature, okay? 1200, 700 and 250 Celsius degrees. In a way you see that the result of so much firing let become the glass, here you go, almost unbreakable because the gold has a glass metallizing property. Let's say that the gold coating stops vibrations, get into the glass, and in this way avoid the breakage. Don't misunderstand me, it's not that you can get a glass and throw it against the wall, it will crush, okay? What you can surely do is either put ice blocks or hot tea, hot coffee, no problem, it will be stronger than any other ordinary glass and even stronger than China, okay? Now, you can wander around if there is any sort of obligation. If you ever like to get a kind of memento in the Church of Venice, we can take very good care of it and either pick it up very good for you to carry or with a little extra ship it back to your own country. Average time of delivery will be 4 weeks, and in this case you will be fully insured against any risk. It comes right to your home address or anywhere else you like to send it to. Fully insured. We do ship by D, okay? Then of course you can get them, I'm just showing you the different patterns, then you can get them in any color. Something like that would be around 39 American dollars, okay? Next size up, you go about 48 and about 55 for the red. Remember that red can always a little more. Then we got vases like these. That, you go around 70. And something like that would be around 95. You got gold medallion too. What else we got for you? Then we got glass gondolas done by our masters. They only come $29 a piece, those are in glass, individually handmade. Because you're almost the same to buy a plastic one out in the square, you know, made in China. But you won't understand the singer, I guess. And what else we got? We got here sets. Now I'm talking to the grown-up people, of course. If you like to buy a nice wine set for you, okay, we're talking about a decanter, a stopper, and 6 matching glasses. The whole lot will be as much as 370 American dollars, delivered and insured anywhere in the world. Okay? You can have it in any color, but in red will be 440. Well, that's all now. Wander around, prices are all marked on each item. You can use any kind of currency, of course, American dollars, euros.
I want to make a scary movie or something. Put a night vision on. That's great.
Jeffrey, did you tell your son to quit taping me? Quit taping him.
I taped myself. I didn't even.
Purple blue and a little bit, it must be very, very deep. But it's so big.
Patty, enjoying the rest of the lemon cup?
Why didn't you say so, you know? So I gave him some money and I said, okay, now tell me when you get there.
Well, I told Carl,
Yeah,
you know,
so he said, just give me a, well, because I think he didn't know if I
I think it may come off the focus on the family. I mean, it may be some sort of
suit down there with the yellow tie stuff. Looks awful proud of his kids, huh? Oh, he does.
Was built by the architect Giovannino de' Dolci for the Pope Sixtus IV. Sistine Chapel, because the Pope was the Pope Sixtus. Sistine Sixtus. 1477, 1480. And in the Sistine Chapel, you don't see only Michelangelo's frescoes. You see also the frescoes on the left and the frescoes on the right. The life of Moses, the Bible, the Old Testament, and the New Testament, Jesus Christ. Sixtus wanted to show the law, the old law and the new law, the religion of law and the religion of love, to show the Christian religion was better than the religion of the Jews. And so the 15th century and Michelangelo. Very, very good. And you see the beginning of the Renaissance, the top of the Italian Renaissance, and the Christ decorated the ceiling, changed the decoration of ceiling for the Pope Julius II. Julius II was the nephew of the Pope Sixtus. Same family. In Italy, the family is important. And Julius decided to pay Michelangelo to decorate the ceiling. 1508, 1512. Michelangelo was 36 years old when he painted the ceiling. Pope Julius paid Michelangelo, and the artist alone decorated the ceiling with the creation of the world. Look at the division between light and dark. The creation of the sun and the moon. But be careful. Look at the unusual position of God. Many cardinals were shocked when they saw the divine of God. They wanted to destroy with a hammer this part of the ceiling. You see the creation of the sea and the sky, and Michelangelo painted in the center the man, the creation of the man, and God. You see, God is coming, is giving the man the praise. Don't forget, in the Renaissance, only the Christian man is a man. is nothing without the grace. So you see, the handsome man, he is not strong. He is a man with grace. You see the creation of a woman, the expulsion from the paradise. You see the snake, Adam, Eve, the angel, the expulsion. You see the deluge, the flood, and you see Noah making a sacrifice after the flood. And you see Noah's grandkind, the last scene. Michelangelo surrounded the scenes in the center with prophets, painted an unusual judgment because we see only Jesus and we don't see the Holy Spirit and the Father. Look at Jesus, the Virgin Mary, Saint Peter, Saint Bartholomew, Adam, Lawrence. You see the cross, the column, the crown, the emblems of the passion of Jesus Christ. But we don't see the Trinity, we don't see the Father, the Holy Spirit, because Michelangelo was not very, very far from Martin Luther. Don't forget, we are in the moment of the Reformation and the Counter-Reformation. Michelangelo felt everything, and he decided to paint Jesus to show us the humanity of Jesus Christ. And he painted the big bodies, the naked bodies, not because he was homosexual or he had many problems with the body. He wanted to show us the man. Jesus Christ was a man. So if Jesus Christ was a man, the disciples could see him like a man. They could touch his body. The same with Saint Peter, Bartholomew. And look at the angels. They are not the traditional angels of the church. We don't see the wings. And look at again Jesus. What do you see? Young man without a beard. You see the Jesus Christ of the first centuries of the church, of the artist, the signature, and he painted his face into the skin of Saint Bartholomew. He painted this fresco in 6 years, 1535, 1540. And the chapel was cleaned and restored in the last 20 years.
Don't mean the background. It's Jeff Camp.
That's what I mean. Jeff Camp.
I got 4 pages.
I know, I like, that's what I mean, the commentary's the fun part.
They'll graduate with a general degree, like maybe in history or anything, really just, and they use that as a stepping stone to play professional. Well, so some of our professional players, when they got done with their careers, went back and finished the degrees. Some guys don't, they just go straight into the pros. Larry was not the best of academic students, but he was so gifted physically with his hand-eye coordination. In a science class where we test peripheral vision, other friends of mine who were in that class with him said he could see movement and spot things across the room, and that obviously applied to his ability on the basketball. He always had a sense of knowing what was going on. His peripheral vision was excellent. Yeah, it took about 4 years to finally get permission to do what they wanted. They weren't going to keep.
Think of a 15-year or 20 years around between 8 and 15%.
It's about the same. Okay.
Of moving away and using glasses some mistakes. But in Italy things are changing also from this standpoint, making things much better clean. You also comply with the European regulations. Because entering the European Union means that your laws, your systems, try to do it as good as the German one.
I like your dress this morning.
Yes.
Now, folks, we get off to enter St. Paul's Basilica. Same things, stay in the group and so on. Thank you very much.
Of the Roman house was in that place where you see the temple of Venus and Rome. When Europe built salt, it Susan decided to build this monument. The name is the Flavian of
Roman guard.
because his name was Flavius Flavian. It was called the Colosseum because at the entrance of the Golden House there was a huge bronze statue, 40 meters high, very, very big. And the name of the statue was the Colossus. So the Colossus was in front of a monument so the other side. Because you see the marbles of the Colosseum everywhere in Rome. The steps of St. Peter are made with the gravity marble here. The Venice Palace in the 15th century was built with this marble, and also the church was inside here. And the temple was decorated with 150 statues, and the Roman emperor lived on the top of the Palatine, and
little bit. Oh, we don't get an escalator down? Yes. I just jogged up an entire mountain yesterday.
and 60,000 people sat here to see in the morning Vikings animals, Venus di Naciones, lions from Africa, elephants, tigers.
That's, I hope so. That's every day in Rome was a beautiful day.
One at a time.
Hey, ole, ole, ole. There's the gladiator in that way.
Along the floor, you can see the reconstruction of the floor.
This is the only outside ring left. The only part of the outside ring left. So imagine the 3 floors of ceiling for 50,000 people and another 10,000.
It's not only age. The stones are everywhere in Rome. The medieval Rome, the Renaissance Rome, the steps of St. Peter, the part of the marble of the Venice Palace were used to build that palace and the churches. So everything was recycled here. And we go.
It's down another level. The way out. There, that's my route now.
And you see the Colossus. You see the decoration of the walls, of the ceiling. You see probably the statues decorated the arches of the Colosseum, but we are not sure. And you see the big bronze statue of the Colossus and the decoration here. Extraction of the floor. And the archaeologists, when they excavated, they found the bones of the animals killed in this place. Very understood. They excavated on the ground and they found what the Romans earthquake assist a weak part, because underneath the monument there is still now the small river, the Rio Labicano, coming down the hill in front. In fact, the problem of the archaeologists when they excavate here is the water. The numbers. Look at the numbers.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Andrew.
Let's see another one.
The cricket.
The famous son of the Emperor Vespasian. This emperor finished the Colosseum. His father Vespasian built the Flavian Amphitheater, the Colosseum, and Titus finished it. When he died, his brother, the Emperor Domitian, decided to dedicate a monument to him. You see the transportation in Rome of a famous menorah. Do you know the menorah? Was the golden chandelier with 7 arms who decorated the Temple of Jerusalem. And the street. So when you visit the forum, don't forget there are 7 levels underneath. Rome was founded 2,700 years ago, and the ground of the forum was different. Before the construction of the Colosseum, the fightings between the animals and the gladiators were made in that place. When the archaeologists excavated the forum, they found the place of the elevators. 12 AD, so 1,700 years ago. And 2 centuries later, the temple became a church of Cosma and Damian. And the church saved the temple because the church was restored. And look at, you see an original Roman door made of bronze, 4th century AD, 312 AD. It's still there with the 2 Egyptian columns, the 4 marble. So you see a temple, now a church, built 1,700 years ago. And behind you, you see the foundation of the Republican houses built 2,200 years ago. So, the temple was built 400 years later. The house is here. So you have an idea of the different levels and the different centuries. We continue by the Emperor Antoninus in 145 AD. Look at the columns from Greece. And look at the door of the church of the 17th century. So you can see the level in the 17th century, the level of the forum. Everything was buried here. And the ground of the 17th century was different than now. Pardon?
Sono probabilmente abbastanza irregolari, abbastanza come una specie di fase, però è molto bello coltivarli regolari.
Where the senators sat. And you see the place of the bronze statue of the victory we lost.
Here we are around.
By Diocletian, 300 AD.
So what I'm seeing now is rebuilt in the 3rd century AD. It seems like it didn't have any more.
And it was a temple like
I think look at that, okay. Now on the stairs.
It tastes better than hotel water.
The oldest cafe of Rome, opened in 1760.
No, I kind of think it was a table with food court.
Налево, потом еще раз налево. I think that's the
When you visit the St. Peter, you see the big canopy with the horsepower colors. That means most of them are still there.
Don't eat stupid shit.